If you've ever wanted to work with brands as a smaller creator, there are some things that you might want to consider. Working with brands can feel overwhelming at times, and it's really hard to know what to charge, how to pitch, and also trying to gain a consistent income from being a content creator. So in this video today, I'm going to walk you through a few of the tips that I have for working with brands as a smaller creator, and hopefully if you're just starting to work with brands, the whole process will seem a lot easier. But for those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Kaylee, and I'm a beauty and fashion photographer based near Sydney, Australia. But I'm also a content creator, and I started this channel a few years ago to talk about all things business, social media, freelancing, and content creation. So as I mentioned, this video will be all about tips for working with brands as a smaller creator, and hopefully you learned something new from the video. As I mentioned, working with brands can feel pretty intimidating, especially at first when you don't have a large following. I think it's really hard for creators to know what they need to charge and how they need to approach some brands, what they actually need to approach them with. So for example, a lot of smaller creators as well tend to suffer from imposter syndrome. They don't feel like they're good enough to work with brands yet or to be paid for their content. And a lot of the time this comes down to follower count. And I've spoken about this on my channel before, but I really think this is such a bad way to look at content creation and working with brands and earning a living from it. I don't believe that you need to have millions of followers to start working with brands. I think that that's a complete myth, and I really don't think you need to hit a target of such before you actually start earning an income from doing content creation. These days there are so many avenues to earning revenue as a content creator, and I really think as well that these days brands are seeing micro-influencing as a really valuable thing. So this is why I think it's important to take some of these tips on board too, and don't feel the need to undersell yourself necessarily if you've only got a couple hundred followers or a couple of thousand followers, because this doesn't always come into the equation with a lot of brand deals. And I'm going to go through some of the tips now on what I think will really help you out if you're not really sure how to work with brands, and hopefully some of these tips will put you in a better position overall. So we're going to jump straight into it now, and the first tip is realize what you can offer to a brand. And what I mean by this is really recognize who you are as a creator, what social media sites you use, what you can actually offer to brands in terms of promotion. So this might look like different things depending on the type of creator that you are. If you have a YouTube channel, for example, you can be offering ad integrations into your videos. So these can tend to last for up to a couple of minutes max in any given video that you're going to be posting to YouTube. Sometimes I tend to make this a relevant video if I'm working with a brand. I'll somehow try and tie in a relevance to the actual content that I'm talking about in the video, and then slide an ad integration in at some point. A lot of the time that will be in the mid-roll of the video. Then you also have the opportunity with YouTube to do a dedicated video. Now this can be for the entire length of the video. For example, if it's a product that you're testing out, then that's going to take up pretty much the whole length of the video. It's going to be all about the product itself. So these will obviously have very different price points because an integration is only going to last a couple of minutes versus a dedicated video, which will be a lot longer. If you're an Instagram creator, you might want to offer stories as a potential promotional option to brands. You might want to offer posting and then reels. And quite often brands will want a combination of these things, or maybe they might want individual things. So maybe one post or one reel, etc. TikTok's very similar to Instagram. However, a TikTok video is something that brands will really want to be taking advantage of there for promotion. If you're on Pinterest and you've got kind of an audience on there, if you're building an audience, Pinterest is a really good option for idea pins as well. I've had brands ask about those too. Then also there's the option for UGC. So with UGC, you don't actually need to have a really large following at all. UGC, for those of you who don't know, is user-generated content. And this kind of content that a brand will ask for usually gets posted to their social media accounts, or in turn they may actually want to use this as an advertisement or a paid advertisement that is shown around social media sites. So it could be YouTube, it could be Instagram. Mainly a lot of the time it is Instagram and TikTok that UGC content is created for, and it's something that you might really want to consider if you're a smaller creator, because a lot of smaller creators actually get offered UGC content brand deals. So I highly recommend looking into this a lot more. But essentially looking at the social media sites that you're on, knowing what you can actually offer to a potential brand, and knowing what kind of content is out there for you to create. That is really the step one of all of this, and making sure that you know this information through and through. I think this is the most important step. Number one is to really know what you can offer and understand that there are going to be different price points for different kinds of posts or even different social media sites. I will say that YouTube does tend to offer a higher rate of pay, especially even for smaller creators, compared to things like Instagram and TikTok. They are short form platforms mainly, and unfortunately you just don't have that that option of integrating products as you would on a YouTube channel, and for as long essentially. So if you're looking at getting a little bit more higher pay in a brand deal, definitely focus on things like YouTube. That will definitely give you the opportunity to do that. However, I think having a TikTok and Instagram account as well is a really great way, especially for cross-promotional content that I'm going to talk about a little bit more in this video as well. But the main takeaway from this point is to think outside of the box in terms of what you can offer and know the potential. The second tip is to create packages for ongoing partnerships with brands. When you're starting out as a smaller creator, it's really hard to gain more of a consistent income. And I know this personally because I've been through this with several YouTube channels, and also even as a freelancer, especially in the beginning, it's a very similar concept. You are finding that your income is kind of all over the place. It comes in waves, and it's really hard to kind of gain that consistency overall. So that's why I like to do a lot of different things to kind of give myself more of a chance of having that consistency with my income. Now, one other way that you can actually do this with content creation is by creating packages for brands. One thing that I also really want to mention here, because I think it's important, is that it can be a lot harder for a smaller creator to get immediate results by working with a brand on a collaboration, any given collaboration or post. So I think it's really hard, and this can be for larger creators too, but it is becoming more commonly known now that resting everything on one video collaboration or one post collaboration is not always the best way to go. And that's because the brand is only having the chance to reach your audience once through one singular collaboration. And depending on the day, it might just not work. Unfortunately, a lot of things rest on algorithms and things like that too. So if it's only one chance that you've got to kind of prove to this brand that you're able to really promote their content, sometimes that's generally not the best way to go, especially for smaller creators. You want to be trying to pitch packages to them instead that will be more or less ongoing. So what I mean by packages is, instead of posting just one singular video integration, for example, for YouTube, I would instead pitch the idea to a brand, instead of one integration, having maybe 2 integrations and a dedicated video over the course of around 3 months. That's a really good intro package for a brand, because you can start off with one integration to introduce the product to your audience, so in 1 month, and then the next month you can try a dedicated video to really get people in your audience familiar with the product, and then in the 3rd month you can do another integration to kind of like remind people about the product again. And I think that's a really good way to start off, and that will hopefully get you a better result or a better picture of your results overall. It's giving your audience a little bit more time to become familiar with the product, a few more chances as well to get the product out there. So realistically, I just believe that that is a much better way. Not only are you able to charge more for this, you can actually charge like on a per monthly basis for that, or in this instance, give a full figure for all 3 videos and then just divide it month by month, and then usually the brand can pay you out per month. So not only do you have more earning potential with this, the Whippets have decided to join me at this particular point. Oh my God, please don't play now. So again, not only do you have more earning potential overall with this method, but you also maximize the potential results for the brand. So I think it's a win-win situation here. Then also I'd like to add here that you can have the potential as well at the end of the 3-month period or 4-month period, whatever you've planned with the brand, to actually renew the partnership and go to them again and sort of say, you know, would you like to go on for a different package? You might like to do something for a 6-month period of time or a 12-month period of time, just to kind of keep that partnership going. I personally feel that it makes for a more authentic partnership overall and more long-standing partnership, and I personally prefer this method of doing things. Now, as I mentioned, you can do this for different social media sites. If you have an Instagram, for example, you might want to create a package where you've got like 5 stories, and you might want to add 1 post and a reel in that, and it's going to give you just that more reach across your audience too, instead of just doing one singular post. And we all know how the Instagram algorithm is these days, so you really want to maximize that. Again, this works for many different social media platforms. You can even do cross promotion if you've got an Instagram account, a TikTok account, and a YouTube. There's also the opportunity to pitch for each of those social media sites if you wanted to. For example, a YouTube integration, an Instagram post, and a TikTok video. There's so many different combinations and ways you can create these packages, and it's definitely something to look into if you are looking to create more of a consistent income and also try and achieve the best results for the brand. The next tip is to create a media kit. Now, I've spoken about this quite a few times on my channel before. I've even actually done a video where I showed you how you can actually make a media kit in PicsArt. There are many different ways to make these online, many different platforms, and media kits are essentially a snapshot of your social media accounts and your audience. So it's really important to include the main stats of your social media accounts, and this could be a lot to do with your demographics. So it could be the most popular countries that your audience is from. It could be gender, it could be age range. You could put your follower count in there, your engagement rate, that's a really important one. And then also list any prior brand collaborations if applicable. The main reason it's important to create a media kit and send this to the brand that you might want to work with is because it looks really professional and it gives the brand that overview of your social media accounts, and it essentially ensures that the brand and your audience are going to align as well. My next tip for working with brands as a smaller creator is to always pitch your content creation and rates to a brand if they are coming to you with an affiliate program invite. As your social media presence grows online, you will inevitably get thousands of emails from different brands asking about you joining their affiliate programs. So for those of you who don't know what an affiliate program is, it essentially means that you would recommend a product on your YouTube channel, on your Instagram, wherever your social media sites are. You would recommend a product to your audience, and if the audience clicks on the dedicated link that you will receive, then you actually get a small commission if they purchase something. Now, in theory, this can sound good, but I will say that for most of the time, these brands and these emails will not even be worth your time. You will get so many of them. A lot of the time, the deals are not that great. And unfortunately, affiliate marketing in general, unless you're a really, really big creator with a really, really big audience, it's a lot harder to make money from affiliate marketing. It is a lot harder to immediately convert people to get those commissions. And unfortunately, because the commissions are so small, it's really a lot of the time just not worth it. There are some good affiliate programs out there, and I do recommend doing a little bit of affiliate marketing just as an extra method of income. It is essentially free money, but a lot of those brands that will contact you about doing review videos or doing videos for your YouTube channel, doing posts on Instagram, essentially doing content creation for the sake of getting this affiliate link, a lot of the time it will not be worth it. They're essentially getting free content and free promotion and not really paying you unless you make a sale, and a lot of the time it can be very difficult to do. Now, having said this, you may on the odd occasion get a brand contacting you about an affiliate program that you actually may want to work with, and it may be a bigger brand or it may be a brand that you're interested in anyway, or a brand that you actually use the product of. So this is where you can kind of pitch another idea to them. So if you really do like the idea of the brand or the brand itself, you've used the brand before, maybe you want to work with them in some way, it's good to start pitching content creation and your rates to them instead. So for example, if there is a brand that contacts me about an affiliate partnership and they're really only looking for me to join their affiliate program, if I like the brand and I've heard of the brand before, maybe I've used their products before, and I really like the idea of working with them in some capacity, I will actually instead pitch my rates and my content creation. And usually I'll say something along the lines of, unfortunately, I can't join affiliate programs with brands unless it's in conjunction with a paid partnership. For example, with a proper collaboration, like doing an ad integration for YouTube or a post for Instagram, something of the like. And my reasoning usually around this is that I get too many requests each week for affiliate programs, and unfortunately I just can't join them all. So that is the one requirement that I do have. Now, I have done this before on many different occasions, and several times brands have actually gotten back to me and said, yeah, sure, send through your rates and we'll see how we can work together in another capacity as well. Sometimes certain brands haven't even thought about this. They're more focused on affiliate programs. They haven't even necessarily thought about having a budget for content creation, essentially, or ad integrations, things like that. So sometimes it's up to you to kind of try and educate them that this is also something that I offer. Would you be interested? And some brands luckily will definitely take you up on that. What I actually really love to do in this situation to really try and get something over the line with them is to offer them a discounted rate for a package. For example, an introductory package to my channel, like I was talking about before, like having 2 video integrations and a dedicated video across 3 months to kind of have a little bit more incentive for them to go for something like that. As I said, this is really more of a pitch a lot of the time, and you're going into it a bit more blind. You don't know whether they've got a budget for this kind of thing or not, whether they've even thought about it. So sometimes it's good to just kind of sweeten the deal if you really want to work with them. The next tip I want to talk about is to not be afraid to know your worth, and don't be afraid to ask for the maximum payment possible. And I'm going to start this point off by saying, don't be too worried about your view or follow count. Bottom line is, when you're working with brands, it's your time that goes into making this content as well. For example, I've created 2-minute YouTube integrations, which overall have taken me weeks to do for a single video. And that's because you're not really just doing the integration, you're doing the entire video around it. You're making it more relevant to the brand. You're trying to put in the placement of the ad. You might want to be a little bit more creative with how you film the advertisement. And that is all going to take time, not to mention the editing, the scripting. The scripting actually can take quite a bit of time if there is scripting involved. So really, this is all something that I have to take into account when I'm doing these kinds of brand collaborations. Now, many brands will actually calculate their budget for individual creators by focusing on their average view rate and calculating the cost per mile or CPM rate based on your average view rate. I will honestly say that I find this to be a bit of a red flag with brands. And this is because if you're calculating a rate for a smaller creator who is maybe getting 500 views per video, a lot of the time they're calculating a rate that is minuscule per view. And you might actually end up getting like $20 to $30 out of the actual collaboration. So this has quite often happened to me where brands have come to me with a really, really low budget, basing it off that average view rate alone, not looking into your engagement rates. So for example, how many comments or likes, interactions you're actually getting per video. And this goes for Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. They're not looking into the quality of your videos. They're not looking at anything other than those views. And I think there's a lot more brands need to take into consideration, especially the time it takes to create this content. So with this method of calculating a budget, obviously it's not taking your time into consideration at all. It's really only the brand being concerned about the reach that they're going to get or the views that they're going to get on any given video. And I feel like that is not a good way to calculate a brand collaboration at all. Also, I need to add here that some of the brands that have calculated in this way and other brands that have just paid a really, really low amount for any type of content creation that I've provided for them, quite often these brands have been nightmares to work with. And for some reason, this is just a very commonplace thing. Some of the brands that have paid me the most money have been the most flexible and actually the most chill about the kind of content that I've been creating. They obviously want it to come across very authentic, so they do give me a lot of creative control. Obviously, there's still some guidelines to follow, but overall, a lot of those brands have been really great to work with. Whereas some of the brands who have paid me the least amount of money for the content I've made, they have asked the world of me and they have been so strict with the requirements for a video to the point where it even comes across as inauthentic. And let me tell you, that's something that really does feel bad in the end. If you end up producing something that feels inauthentic for a brand, it just makes you wonder why you took the brand deal in the first place. So I really want to save any of you out there that are getting really bad deals from brands, the heartache and the stress. A lot of the time, these types of brand deals will take you so much longer to do. There's so many more requirements and it just always seems to be the brands that are paying the least amount of money. So I think it's really important to gauge it when you are pitching your rates to a brand. So for example, a lot of the time, if you pitch your rates to a brand and they immediately say yes and accept, sometimes that can kind of indicate that there may be money left on the table and you could have asked for a bit more. If a brand comes back to you immediately after you've pitched your rates to them and says, hey, maybe we could negotiate a little bit lower, then you know that you've pretty much hit the end of their budget. A lot of this is really similar to my freelance photography business and when I've had to negotiate with clients on different occasions. So content creation is very similar in that fashion. But don't be afraid to ask for a little bit more than you might think, because a lot of the time there will be brands out there willing to pay. And then if not, a lot of the time you can negotiate to where the brand sort of feels like their budget is. And obviously if that suits you as well. And that actually leads me into the next point, which is don't be afraid to negotiate. Now, obviously the all or nothing mentality isn't always the right approach and you still want to get paid for your content creation. I totally understand that. And it's not going to be worthwhile, you know, giving a rate of $10,000 if you've only got a small following to any given brand, because probably they're going to look at you like you're crazy. But it is important to negotiate. So if a brand comes to you with a budget that you feel is too low for your content creation, try negotiating higher with them. And then conversely, if you've gone to them with your rates and then they've come back to you and said it's too high, then obviously be open to negotiating a bit lower. But again, this is leading me into my next point, which also happens to be my final point. And I actually think it's one of the most important points, and that is it's okay to say no. Just because a brand deal is offered to you doesn't mean you need to take it. You really need to make sure that the brand is relevant to you and your audience in some way. Remember that the more you love and respect what a brand has to offer, the more it will actually show in how you promote it. And the same goes for the opposite, by the way. The more that a brand loves and respects what you have to offer, it's going to make the whole collaboration a lot more seamless. So if you're getting red flags and you're getting bad vibes from a particular brand when you are having your initial conversations or even as you go along, it is okay to say no and cut the deal. You need to do what's best for you, your content creation, and your audience. So at the end of the day, remember it's okay to say no, and just because an offer is on the table doesn't mean you need to take it. You don't need to take every brand deal that comes your way. Well, I hope you really enjoyed this video today, and if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, make sure you do, because I'll be posting a lot more videos like this one in future. Let me know down in the comments section below some of your experiences with getting brand deals. Let me know how you're going about it, if you're wanting to get more of them this year and next year. And if you've got any questions in general, definitely feel free to let me know in the comments. Make sure to hit the notification bell as well if you want to see more updates from my channel. But thank you so much as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.